Good evening. Good evening. Good evening and welcome. My name is Josh Smilo, and I will be your MC tonight. This year's dinner is like none other. Our amazing dinner committee has worked so incredibly hard to put together an event that will do justice to our honorees, and they have done a fantastic job. In preparing for this evening, the dinner committee really worked creatively. There are videos, slideshows, and so many creative touches that I felt it was only right for me to add my own creative spin to this evening. Therefore, I have written a poem which I will share with you now. Welcome to the Congregation Israel Annual Dinner, a night in which everyone goes home a winner. What a delight it is to see you all here, in person or online, far and near. It is such a treat to be all together. I sure am thankful for this beautiful weather. For this gala event, some surprises we will share, so have a seat and relax, pull up a chair. Before we begin, let me just say, thanks to Hashem that we're here today. Let's reflect for a second on how far we've come since my dining room table where I zoomed from. It is a joy and a pleasure to be here tonight for our honorees who bring to our shul such light. We will spend the evening acknowledging those who devote themselves to this shul we all chose. Marilyn, Eva, and the Steingarts, we celebrate you and your big hearts. Rick, Diane, and of course Adam Grice, you've inspired us all once or twice. Tonight is a celebration of some special folks, so let's make them a toast and say a few jokes. At this point in time, as we all settle in, let's hear from our Rav before we begin. Rabbi Marcus, please share a few words of Torah with us.
Just looking out at everyone tonight, thinking of our Chashuva honorees, I can't help the Bielarois, yeah? Although one tonight, Mrs. Gilon, not the other, only one. Filled with immense feelings of Hakaras HaTov, of thanks, of Shevach V'Odah to the Ribono Shel Olam. Zeh hayom asa Hashem nagila v'nismach chavo, that we have the zechus, the opportunity to share in the simcha together. It's also very unique that this is the first year in 19 years that I'm speaking at a shul dinner that Bobby didn't tell me I only have 3 to 5 minutes. So Bobby, I'm just going. I assume it's a high holiday sermon, right? 40 minutes or so, I'm good. But in truth, I'd like to share a very simple idea that what I think makes our Kehillah special and unique. There are some people who say it's the Cheers effect. You want to go where everybody knows your name. And in Springfield, certainly, there is that sense of warmth, the sense of hominess. But I wanted to share an idea from the Rambam's Perush HaMishnayos in Pirkei Avos. In the first perek, in the 6th Mishnah, Rambam explains, what does it mean, Kenei L'cha Chaver? What does it mean, acquire for yourself a friend? And the Rambam says there are 3 types of friends. He says there's an Ohev Toeles, there's an Ohev Menucha, and an Ohev Ma'ala. The Ohev Toeles is a utilitarian friendship. One might think of a business arrangement. The Rambam talks about the leader and those that he's leading, a king and his subjects, maybe a king and his army. But that's one level of friendship, of av, of love between people, that they each serve a purpose for the other. The Rambam then says there's the Ohev Menucha, a love of pleasure. You enjoy having a drink with each other, maybe catching a game, maybe a deep schmooze, someone you can unburden yourself to. That's the Ohev Menucha, the love of a certain deep enjoyment and pleasure. But the Rambam says, the Mishnah is talking about the 3rd level, the Ohev Ma'ala, the love between people because of shared virtues and shared ideals. And I believe that this 3rd level of Ahava that the Rambam speaks of is the bedrock of our Kehillah. That we share ideals, we share virtues, and we're looking together to move forward. All of the honorees this evening, each one of the honorees, I myself could speak about for a half hour, believe Guzma, without exaggeration. Rick and Diane, my wife often says, the person I spoke to the most over the past 16 months has been Rick Kafka. 2nd place might be my wife, 3rd place, Diane Kafka. 4th place, Len Bielero. It's Oyom Venora. It's awesome what you've done this year. I'm really humbled by our Kohen Gadol, the Eishes Kohen Gadol. The dedication to Kehillah, the dedication to Torah, to Tefillah, to Chesed. You know, Mr. Bernie Zen, who's here tonight. Bernie, you didn't want to come when you were honored, right? But why is Bernie here tonight? He told me, Rabbi, I have to come for a kafka. Because every Erev Shabbos, for the past year, Rick went shopping for Bernie. He would call me, Rabbi, I'm going to errands. What do you need, Rabbi? Diane, those great Divrei Torah that introduce the bulletin every week, It's not me. I never wrote so well in my whole life. It's Diane. I'll be open now. She's my ghostwriter. I don't know, they think it's me. I have no idea why. Just read my message to bullet. I clearly don't write that well. But their dedication to Kehillah is unreal. Avi and Debbie, the membership committee was going on through COVID. Youth committee trying everything they could to keep a sense of Kehillah, of trying to keep our kids connected to shul, when there was no shul, when there were no groups. And I know the complaints they got. I know it wasn't easy. But the consummate professionals in dealing with the Eibishter's children, the ability to keep calm, and under all circumstances. Times Adi calmed me down. This last week was one of them. Marilyn, it's been 20 years of the chesed of Marilyn Bieleroy. For 20 years we've been wanting to honor her, and she said, no, I don't know why, Marilyn, you said yes this year, but thank you. Should be a zechus for you, the entire mishpacha. There are people in this room, relationships between families in this room that were created by Marilyn's Seder Shidduch services. By Marilyn realizing, Rabbi, this people need somewhere to go for a Seder, this one, that one. And Marilyn always behind the scenes connecting people. It's unbelievable. And this year, she mamish like gave up Lenny. I mean, maybe you won, I don't know, but I have to speak for a minute about Lenny. He's not being honored tonight, but he should. Again, I have Lenny. There's no doubt. As I said, only to Rick and Diane is more. For this year, unbelievable. What he's done without Shashtil, Lenny likes to say Shashtil Rabbi, didn't want an honor tonight, didn't want anything tonight. But understand, Lenny's certainly deserving of it. Adam Grice, who I hope, as Hashem, will come, will make it here. His son's graduating tonight. But because of the pandemic, Adam worked at home from Morgan Stanley the entire year, and he said, Rabbi, he's been able to come to Minyan. He said, a blessing, a silver lining in disguise. And Adam, every Minyan, every year, the only reason he wasn't at a Minyan was because he was on a 7 a.m. conference call with Japan, or with Paris, or with somewhere. Dedication to tefillah seen through Adam Grice is unbelievable. And Eva Gedalowitz, I actually go back with Eva's family longer than anyone else here. And Eva, the chesed and the chaim that you have is mamish directly from your parents, Fran and David. People don't know what Bali Chasadim your parents are, but I do. And Eva, it's so beautiful to see that you're mamish following in their footsteps. You should just continue to build a home la'elo, the way your parents did. You know, it was 20 years ago when I was being interviewed by the whole shul for the position of rabbi. Yeah, it was a little strange. Those that remember it, I was being interviewed by the whole shul, and someone asked, where do you see the shul in 10 years from now? And I said, in 10 years from now, I see the shul on a mountaintop outside Jerusalem. Everyone looked at me like I was a lunatic. One lunatic stood up and started clapping, Sam Alexander, because we were actually on the same wavelength. Sam understood what I was talking about. It's a Gemara in Megillah, Daf Chav Tes, Rebbe Elazar HaKapar Omer, Kol Batei Kinesios, Batei Midrashos, of Bavel and all of Chutz La'aretz. All shuls, all yeshivas are going to be picked up and they're going to move to Eretz Yisrael. Because of the Torah, because of the Tefillah, because of the Chesed, that these homes of God, these Mikdash Ma'at, these temples in miniature represent. And here we are 10 years after that 10-year prediction. I guess I was wrong. But I'm confident that with the Bias Kol Tzedek B'Meir Yameinu, the people we're honoring tonight are exactly the types of people that are going to make Congregation Israel on a mountaintop outside Jerusalem. It's a zechus for me to be able to grow together with everyone in this room. It's a zechus for me and Leah and our family have such close relationships with you. And it's a chus for me to be able to thank personally our honorees this evening. What you've done for me, what you mean to me, is beli erech, without any way to me properly be makir. I just hope that everyone here can look to our honorees, can learn from our honorees what an ohev shel ma'ala is, that highest level of love and friendship that the Rambam is talking about. That is the bedrock of our kihila and should guide us ad biyaskola, until Be'ezras Hashem, our kihila is on that mountaintop outside, on one of those mountains that David HaMelech spoke about, the Meira of Yamein. Mazel tov, mazel tov.
Before I introduce our president, there is someone that I want to single out and thank, because every year I forget to do it. And that person is Christine Spinner. People don't realize that our shul would not run without her. Even though we have a very smart, very strong, very handy head of house, he could not do it without Chris, who really does all the work. Christine, I should thank you every day, and we here at Congregation Israel want to publicly thank you for everything you do. And now I'd introduce our president, Jeff Kigner. So there's not, well, hold on, we have, I got hold like this. You can sit, it's fine. It's like a page, but I'll go fast. It's fine. So there's, you okay? Okay, so there's not so much to make fun of about Jeff Kigner. He's always so nice to me, he respects my opinion, always answers my calls, never makes me feel smaller because we are the same height, or more vulnerable, or that I'm Robin to his Batman, or makes me feel like I'm always second fiddle, or that he's smarter and I'm dumber, or that he's better looking, or that he drives a Buick and I drive a Dodge. Jeff didn't steal my dining room table when we were roommates. Jeff did not sit me at a table at his wedding where I was the only handsome man with awkward single women, none of whom turned out to be my wife. So I thought it would be an overall better idea if I just made fun of our co-president, Ben Hoffer. Ben, even though we are still in your month-and-a-half-long 40th birthday celebration, which I have been told ends on Father's Day, this night is not all about you. So for one last time, happy 40th birthday. And now I'd like to call upon our president, Jeff Kigner, to share a few words. Thank you.
Well, welcome to everyone for being here tonight. Thank you for supporting our shul and our kahila. It's been a long 15 months, and it's just great to see everyone in 3 dimensions and to be able to see your smiles. It's also nice not to have to fix my monitor to really, make sure that I can see all of you. God willing, the challenges and the difficulties we faced will continue to fade into the background. The challenge we face now is to return to normalcy. To do this, we'll need to integrate the strengths we've learned about ourselves, both as individuals and as a community in the past year, with the experiences and the practices that we connected to before the pandemic. I have no doubt about our ability to succeed. A key reason for this confidence is because of the hard work that everyone in the community contributes to build and support our shul. To all committee heads, to all committee members, to all volunteers, to the sisterhood, to the Gabayim, and of course the rabbi, we owe a tremendous thank you, especially this past year under such difficult circumstances. Before offering my congratulations to this year's honorees, I think there's something that we must do, understanding that last year we were not able to give live applause to our honorees. I'd like to recognize last year's honorees. Josh and Michal Geiger, our young couple, are, of course, made Aliyah, and our Edward Konigsberg Award winner, Howard Gluckman, is in Israel right now. Avi Stern just got back from Israel and is not here. But, however, last year's guests of honor, Sharon and Avi Bornstein, and our Eish Chayil, Daniel Pepper, are here. So if I can ask them to stand up so we can give them applause for them. Now to this year's honorees. I'm only going to spend a few sentences on each, as others are going to be introducing them. Beginning with the Kofkins. When we needed to decide on honorees for this year, we were all unanimous. While Rick and Diane have been leaders in the community from the day that they moved into Springfield, their contributions this year have been extraordinary. There hasn't been a single communication that's gone out from the shul without the benefit of Diane's leadership and her communication skills. This is in a year when precise communication was central to our health and our ability to operate. And speaking of operating, minyanim would not have been possible, whether in the shul itself, whether in parking lots all over Springfield, whether it's in people's backyards. Rick's dedication, Rick's management made that possible. Diane and Rick's contributions this past year were an important part of what kept our community together. Marilyn Bialroy has been a pillar of our community for decades. I don't know where to begin expressing Marilyn's contributions. Someone else has that job tonight. Suffice it to say that for many years, the shul has wanted to express our gratitude and honor Marilyn and her husband. And I think because Marilyn knew how important this year's dinner is to the community coming out of the pandemic, Marilyn accepted the honor. Thank you, Marilyn. And I also want to thank you for setting the precedent, being the Eish Chayil, because this year, now next year, we can honor Lenny as the Eish Chayil. We're addressed? You look good. Debbie and Avi Steingart. Debbie is one of the longest standing members in the community, but still young enough to, along with her husband Avi, to be celebrated and honored as the young couple. Debbie, along with her co-chairperson, Ariel Bloom, on the membership committee, have pulled off the impossible this year and found a way to grow our community and bring young couples into the community, and it's been a fantastic result. Avi, along with his co-chairperson, Chana Horowitz, have worked nonstop providing and preparing for our children to do through this difficult year. And by taking the leadership and bringing in the Gersons, our new assistant rabbi and youth leaders, they have set us up for an exciting future. In a year when it was crucial for people to stand up and contribute, our honoree, Adam Grice, made an impact with his dedication to our minyanim. Adam's love for tefillah and his passion to understand the meaning behind them is an inspiration to all of us. And Eva Gdalowitz, our Joseph Mom Scholarship Award winner, Eva, you are part of a very special family. And I know the rabbi just said this, and given your and your family's emphasis on acts of kindness, there couldn't be a more appropriate person to honor with this award. I, and on behalf of my co-president, Ben Hoffer, the one that Josh was just making fun of, congratulate all the honorees and thank the dinner committee for enabling this wonderful evening. Thank you.
I would now like to call upon Sandra Tamam, who will present the Joseph Tamam Memorial Youth Community Service Scholarship Award.
Good evening, members and friends. It is so special to be together tonight. Wow. And it's a great pleasure to present the 12th Annual Joseph Tamam Memorial Youth Community Service Scholarship Award. I want to thank Rabbi and Rebbetzin Marcus, the Board of Trustees, the Dinner and Journal Committees, and Christine Spinner for their effort and commitment. A special thanks goes to everyone who gave donations this year and in past years to the scholarship in memory of my beloved husband. Joe made the world a better place. He touched everyone's hearts. He was totally committed to his family and the Jewish community, in particular, Congregation Israel of Springfield. In 2009, the Bet Midrash and Children's Library Activity Room were his two last projects, but sadly, he did not live to see the dedication. Education was always a source of pride for Joe. Many of you may not know that although his parents lived modestly in Tripoli, Libya, schooling was of utmost importance. After his bar mitzvah, Joe went to study at the Ort School in Milan, Italy, and this meant only going home to Tripoli once or twice in those 5 years due to the Arab-Jewish conflict. Later on, as a new immigrant in the United States and became with Hayas, Joe served in the Air Force and managed to learn English, and earn his degree from New York City College. We established the Joseph Tamam Memorial Award knowing the joy that Joe would have felt in supporting talented and deserving young members of our shul in pursuing their college studies. This year's recipient of the award, Eva Gedalowitz, is a very special young woman. Her accomplishments include volunteering at the shul in numerous capacities, and her volunteerism extends into her high school and the local community as well. Eva, I'm sure that you will continue to reach new heights. Our entire family wishes you good health and success in your upcoming endeavors, and mazel tov. Check. Mazel tov.
2017 was a monumental year for me. The summer before I came to high school, my family moved to Springfield. To say I was nervous would be an understatement. I was scared. I was terrified. Everything that was familiar to me was now changing. My school, my friends, my home. This change that I was so afraid of turned out to be one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. Springfield very quickly became my home, and I found my place in the shul youth department and found friends that I know I will have for a lifetime. A year after we moved here, my brother suddenly passed away. The way this community took care of my family made me realize how important it is to give back. Chesed, which held an important part of my heart, took on a whole new meaning. I saw firsthand how deeply it can help make an impossible situation surmountable. My family and I were astounded by the amount of quiet chesed so many people do in this community on a daily basis. It is inspirational and transformative. Since that experience, I've actively sought out ways that I can give back, whether in school or in the community. I felt a new kind of feeling, one of contentment and accomplishment, and it's a feeling I always want to have in whatever I undertake. Next year, I plan to attend Tomer Devorah in Yerushalayim, where I look forward to building on my love for Chesed and Torah values. Afterwards, I will be attending Landers College for Women in New York, working my way towards a degree in psychology. Chesed has become a part of who I am thanks to this community. Thank you, Rabbi Marcus, for leading a community that is so focused on Chesed. Thank you for being such a dynamic teacher and mentor, and for making my family feel so welcome here. Thank you, Benny and Art Bromberg, for giving me the opportunity to be part of the youth department and for making my siblings and I feel as comfortable in the community as possible. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for always pushing me to excel in whatever I do and for planting the love for Chesed in me and each of my siblings. I've heard so much about Joseph Tamam, who he was and what he meant to this community. I've heard about his generosity and the warm connection so many felt towards him. I've heard about Joe's involvement in the community and his commitment to Torah values. I only wish I had the opportunity to meet him. Thank you, Sandra Tamam, and your entire family for this meaningful award and scholarship. I hope that I too will one day be able to leave as meaningful an impact on this world as your husband has. Thank you.
Some of you might already know this, but in case you don't know, I'm a dentist. Love Rick's laugh. All right. I work in smiles, and I have seen thousands of smiles in my career. But there is no smile like Emmy Hoffer's smile. The last time I saw Emmy, she was in my chair with that genuine and perfect smile. And what was she doing? What she always did. She was asking me about my kids, my plans, and my life. Because Emmy genuinely cared about me. And not just me, Emmy cared about everyone. She devoted her life to caring for others, individually and through this shul. Emmy was the perfect embodiment of an Eishes Chayil. She was the most deserving recipient of the Eishes Chayil Award at the shul dinner in 2009, and worked with this year's Eishes Chayil awardee on a variety of shul projects. Our Eishes Chayil this year is Marilyn Bielroy. Marilyn is one of those people who just gets it done. She has graciously hosted many people in her home throughout the last 35 years. Shabbaton participants, prospective members, new members, scholars and residents, and more. Marilyn is the person you call when you want to get it done without any questions. For instance, when your son gets his baseball uniform the night before his first game, and it's huge on him, you call Marilyn because you know she knows a seamstress who can fix it in less than 24 hours. This happened Monday night. But back to shul matters. She co-chaired the shul dinner for many years and is an expert in soliciting ads, as I learned when I tried to call all the shul vendors for ads, but she beat me to it every time. She has played a role in countless projects over the years. Marilyn has been involved in our shul's fundraising needs, such as raising money for the sisterhood and shul camp, as well as social endeavors like matching families up for Pesach Sedarim, or co-hosting the Lax Family Backyard Shalashidus for all members. Marilyn truly cares about each member of this shul. She easily sparks conversation and makes connections with everyone she encounters. When I think of Marilyn, 3 things come to mind. Number 1, her surgeon-like glasses that she wears to board meetings. I tried to get a pair. Lenny brought the wrong pair tonight. I was going to wear it. Number 2, the way she so casually sits in shul with her arm over the back of the pew like she owns it. And number 3, her famous Hanukkah sweaters. But we all know that the reason that Marilyn is receiving the Eishes Chayil Award tonight is because she's married to Lenny. We love Lenny. We love Lenny. But in all seriousness, it is my absolute pleasure to present the Eishes Chayil Award to Marilyn Bielroy.
For those lovely words. I'd like to start off with a few thank yous. First, to my dinner chairs, Dolores, Bobby, Sherry, Danielle, thank you for the tremendous effort in making tonight such a wonderful success. This is definitely one of the hardest working committees in this shul, and each and every one of those women are previous Neshei Chayil awardees. I am proud to join your group. In addition, thank you to Diane Kofkin for all your behind-the-scenes work and advice. At this time, I would also like to remember a dear friend, previous neighbor, and previous Eshet Chayil awardee, Emmy Hoffer, Zichrona Livracha. We miss her. Rabbi and Leah, immense gratitude for your leadership in making this community the dynamic and warm home that it is, and most especially for your guidance, wisdom, and friendship. Len, my partner in everything, my best friend, for always being by my side to make everything possible for me to do what I do. And of course, for all your tireless work on behalf of our Kehillah, as well as the Kehillah on Brandon Beach. You are a role model for our family and community. And you are my Ish Chayil. To my kids, Brett, Rada, and Amy, thank you for just being the great, solid kids that you are. And especially for our two loving and remarkable granddaughters. A special shout out to my brother Eitan and niece Eden from Detroit, my niece Rena from New York. I am thrilled that you are here to celebrate with us. Acharon Chaviv, last but not least. I accept this award, and I accept it on behalf of me and my mother, who I am sharing it with. She is the quintessential Eshet Chayil, who gave me the foundation and tools needed to succeed. You are and always have been my pillar of support, security, and reassurance, as well as my mentor and sounding board. Growing up, your dedication to family, shul, school, community has been a shining example for me. I love you, Mom.
We're just trying to locate the gifts. There you go, music. Good idea. You know, this dinner committee, you know. I mean, you should really be opening it, not me. It's wrapped very well, also. Well, she should really hold it. Okay. I consider myself to be a pretty friendly guy, but even I couldn't keep up with all the new members and amazing smachot that took place over the last year. There were babies being born, families moving in, graduations, bar and bat mitzvahs, and more. With a special thanks to the video committee, led by Shari Stein, please join us in meeting some of our new members and take a look at some of the smachot celebrated by our own CIS family in the last year.
Hi, I'm John.
I'm Chaviva.
We just moved here this past August, but we are New Jersey natives.
We have 4 children. Our oldest daughter just graduated Rutgers. Our next daughter just finished her first year at Maryland. Our third daughter is graduating 8th grade at Kushner tonight, which is why we can't be here. And our son is currently a 5th grader, also at Kushner.
So why did we come to Springfield? Well, for the #1 bagel store in New Jersey. Yep, New Jersey 101.5 listed Bagel Supreme as the best in the state. Really, go look it up.
Seriously though, after living in other communities, we knew that we wanted to be in a small one-shul town where there was a sense of achdut. And after this difficult year, we look forward to getting to know everyone here better.
And I personally can't wait to brush up on my Karlbach Nigudim. So see you soon.
Hi, we're Gabe.
And Rachel.
When I matched into residency, we knew we wanted to live somewhere close to Overlook and Morristown hospitals. Due to the pandemic, however, we actually hadn't visited Springfield, but after speaking to a handful of shul members, we realized it'd be a great fit for us.
We liked that Springfield's a community with one shul and definitely vibrant and active, and there are nearby Jewish day schools, kosher restaurants, and great hikes. It's also relatively close to family.
We're looking forward to the day when our son can meet more friends at shul and for having meals with people and socializing at shul kiddushes.
Thank you so much to everyone who so warmly welcomed us this past year.
Hey everyone, we're Josh and Lindsay Pianco.
And we came to Springfield because we heard really great things about the community, and so far everyone's been really nice and friendly. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Max.
Hi, I'm Helena. We chose to move to Springfield because we were looking for an out-of-town community with one shul where everyone knows each other.
A few things that I and Helena already like about Congregation Israel is just how welcoming and friendly everyone has been towards us so far. We moved in during the pandemic, but we really feel a part of the show. We really feel welcome, and so many people have came over to us and introduced themselves to us. And another thing is the Rav, Rabbi Marcus. He has made himself available to Helena and I and to answer any of our questions. He knows Moshe Chaim by name, which Moshe Chaim loves. And finally, I've took him up on a few walks and schmoozim already, which have been super helpful to me.
And we look forward to spending many more years at Congregation Israel.
Take 32. Hi, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Adam.
And we recently moved here from Teaneck, New Jersey. Adam and I actually both went to Kushner, so we've had a little opportunity to get to know the area a little bit. But we're definitely looking forward to meeting everyone when we do go to shul, because we actually do live here.
And we heard a lot of great things, but specifically had an inside source that gave us some pretty good intel about the community, Zephyrin. So we were really excited to come here, and we were looking for a community like similar to what Danielle and I grew up in a single shul community that everyone has been really warm and welcoming. So we really appreciate that. And I had a very special experience when I was a child. I actually came to Springfield for Todd Robinson's bar mitzvah, and ever since then, I knew it was destiny to come back, and was really excited to do that. So look forward to meeting everybody, and congratulations to all the honorees.
Hi, my name is Sigal. Hi, my name is Joshua. Hi, my name is Jamie. I want to introduce you to a small part of my family. We're missing my husband Joe and my 2 older boys, Robert and Jonathan. I wanted to tell you a little bit about our experience coming into Springfield. We moved from Brooklyn, New York, a couple of weeks ago. And since we moved, we have loved everything about Springfield. The kids feel safer and happier. We came to look for a better life. And I think we found it. We found the right place. Your community is lovely. Everybody's so sweet, so welcoming. And we really appreciate how nice everybody has been since we came. I also like all these WhatsApp groups, the ladies from Springfield. I have read every single message they wrote, and I have learned so much about Springfield. I feel I already have been living here for a while. So thank you everybody for being so welcoming. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Debbie and Avi Steingart are the recipients of this year's Young Leadership Award. They both serve crucial roles for our shul. As a co-chair of the membership committee, Debbie is responsible for making sure prospective members get a sense of how special our community is. After new families move in, Debbie and the committee work to help integrate them into the community. Additionally, Debbie plays a key role in events such as Mystery Shabbos, Noats.
It's pronounced notes,
Oh,
Milo. Notes.
Notes. Sorry. Notes and Yom Chesed. Avi plays an essential role in caring for our children. Debbie also is responsible for caring for kids, but in terms of tonight, we need to focus on Avi's caring of the kids in our shul. As a co-chair, I thought that was funny. That wasn't, didn't take. Whatever. As co-chair of the youth department, Avi has the thankless job of overseeing youth groups, from our youngest group members through our Wilets. With his kid-at-heart nature, I am tempted to say he plans most of the youth events just so he could have a good time. There you go. All right, there you go. He has also served as Gabbai Shlishi and keeps parent-child learning engaging and motivating for the kids, week after week. Over the past year, Debbie and Avi I'll start again. Over the past year, Debbie and Avi had to get really creative in their roles here at the shul. From virtual youth events to outdoor prospective member meet and greets, Avi and Debbie have been able to seamlessly continue their roles in a meaningful way despite the situation. It is because of their wholehearted dedication, energy, and commitment that we are proud to award Debbie and Avi Steingart with the Young Leadership Award this evening.
Avi and I debated who would give the speech tonight, so we flipped a coin, and I lost. Thank you, Josh, for the warm introduction. Thank you to Rabbi Marcus, the dinner committee for their hard work, and thank you to our family and friends and to our extended Congregation Israel family for being here tonight. The last time my whole family was here was when my parents were honored a few years ago, and it's very meaningful for me to carry on the tradition. Let me give you an example of what Congregation Israel means to us. I was in Geula one Friday morning in seminary when all of a sudden I hear someone yell, "Absent!" I turn around to see who that was. I didn't recognize him at first. He comes over and says, "I know you might not recognize me, but I am here in yeshiva because of your family." Our family had invited him over one Friday night. He was coming from in college and was visiting his parents for the weekend. So we offered him a good meal and a Shabbos experience. This is what we hope to continue to provide in Springfield, to offer a warm home and a welcome experience. Now you may be wondering why we decided to move back to Springfield, since I may have mentioned a few times that I would never move back. Furthermore, how did I convince Avi to move here? Avi is from Teaneck, we lived in Kew Garden Hills, and there are many great Jewish communities in between. Avi and I both realized that this is the place where, regardless of your background, you can make a difference the moment you move in. Before we knew it, I was serving as co-chair of the membership committee with Ariella, welcoming many new families to the community, and Avi was co-chair of the youth committee with Fana, continuing to provide programming despite COVID. And of course, most importantly, we're the only community that has Rabbi Marcus. How do we know we made the right decision? Of course, only time will tell. But watching our son Gabriel hang out with his friends on Shabbos afternoon and meet Avi and Shul for Mincha helps validate our decision. Avi and I have never looked back and look forward to continue to enjoy the growth of our community. Thank you again for the honor and enjoy the rest of the evening.
We had a table last year. 2 years ago.
our guests of honor this evening. Okay. Diane Osenkopkin and Rick Kopkin are pillars of this shul. But some people might not even know it because they do things so quietly. Rick is the gabbai in our Shkama Minyan, as well as the chair of the religious committee. Over the past year, he has been deeply involved, along with the rabbi, in ensuring that we abide by halacha and safety protocols while maximizing our sense of community in the best way possible. It is also surely Rick's many years working on Wall Street that prepared him for the role of seat coordinator for our minyanim. Rick, from one perfectionist to another, your precision with a tape measure and painter's tape is unmatched and unparalleled. Rick and Diane are both deeply involved in Torah learning. Rick is a member of the shul's Semichas Chaver program and learns Daf Yomi. And both he and Diane are regular attendees at the Rabbi Shiurim. Diane is a writer who devotes herself to editing Reach HaSadeh, the shul's Torah journal. This role takes a significant portion of her time, and she is committed to ensuring that the journal is the professional book we ultimately receive. She has served on the shul board and currently serves on the security committee and sisterhood. Diane was also deeply involved with the Milton School and JKHA, along with Rick, founded Ahavas Torah in Short Hills. Diane's crafting of the shul's communication is mellifluous. Her smile is magnanimous. I have one more. And her dedication to the shul is simply meritorious. Diane is malgaphonous, which for those of you who do not have Diane's vocabulary, is the opposite of megalophonous. As you can see by my vocabulary, I am a graduate of the lower track of the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County. I am honored to present this year's Rabbi Israel E. Turner Memorial Award to our guests of honor, Rick and Diane Kopkin.
For that introduction that I myself did not understand a word. I'll have to go back to that dictionary very quickly. Thank you also wherever you are anyway, Josh.
Right.
Hi, we're here. Hi. Thank you so much for making this such a funny.
My pleasure.
Birshut Morenu Rabbeinu, Rabbi Marcus, our beloved mentor and friend, Rabbi Solomon, Rabbi Reuben, Rabbi Eagle, Rebbitzins Leah, thank you, Josh. Rebbitzins Leah Marcus, Chaim Solomon, and Yasser Eagle, esteemed CIS rabbis, honorees and guests, cherished family and friends. 1,000,000 years ago, when people still watched network television, there was no escaping a commercial featuring the tagline, "I'm not a doctor, I just play one on TV." That actor was telling the truth, by the way. Chris Robinson starred in General Hospital for more than 30 years. I, on the other hand, am a novice in many arenas, while Rabbi Israel E. Turner, Zichrono Livracha, is a consummate public Torah personality. Thank you all for honoring us in his memory and for encouraging me to follow his example. Long before I started watching soap operas, I fell in love with fiction. As a child, my worldview was shaped by the creators of The Little Prince and Sherlock Holmes. Holmes tells Dr. Watson, the world is full of obvious things which nobody ever observes, while the fox tells the prince, it is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. I've spent many years trying to actualize these aphorisms, but before the pandemic struck, I had never once thought to link them to Birchot HaShachar, the morning blessings. Moreover, I'd never perceived we must also thank Hashem for a bracha that is invisible in the Siddur, but just as essential, for endowing us with the capacity to become the compassionate people He created us to be. Becoming the people Hashem created us to be. This, of course, is the work of a lifetime. But if our collective losses have taught me anything, it's that we all share the same burdens and blessings. And Avodat Hashem requires a heart that sees rightly and hands that eagerly embrace every opportunity to connect with others through Torah, Tefillah, and the Gemilut Chasadim. My parents of blessed memory, Cantor David and Shirley Olson, tried to give me a head start on this enterprise by connecting with everyone they encountered. What a pleasure it is to be able to celebrate tonight with my sister. We've shared the same nicknames for decades, so I sometimes forget that her name is actually Sharon. Thank you, my little P, for a lifetime of seeing and doing the essentials for me. Mrs. Judy Singer, who knew my parents even before she married her Bashir, gave me another new name. Thank you, Judy, for doing me the greatest chesed ever by introducing me to Rick, who still thinks you're one of the best cooks anywhere. Chesed animates our kahila as well. There is insufficient time to thank all of my special friends at CIS by name. But please know how grateful I am to you for sharing your lives with me over so many years of separation. Your emails and tefillah, invitations and texts, challahs and treats are sparks of light that never fade. But I would be remiss if I failed to mention a few shul members whose kindness has cheered me during particularly challenging times. Henry Hoffer of blessed memory was the first person I met at CIS, and the only person ever to invite Rick and me on a cruise. After my mom passed away, Moshe Rosenwein and Amos Alter read Megillah for us, and Sam Alexander recited Kaddish. Tova Silberman kept me put together and standing tall during davening. And Henry Stein or Elisa Kigner walked me home every Shabbos. The Greenfields made us part of our family, their family. We feel like we were their family. Sheila Bank cared for our dog Kofi as if he were her own. For years, Perla Wiseman and Sharon Borenstein have sent me weekly virtual hugs and more. David Schiffman calls just to ask what's cooking. Agnes Goodman graciously pretends my Hebrew is Achman. And I will always aspire to be more like Alana Perez. Thank you all for acts of kindness that come naturally to you and mean the world to me. I've also learned a lot about chesed from working with brilliant CIS partners like Adam Sheps, Barry Stein, Chris Spinner, and Ashley Weinstein and Shari Stein. I deeply appreciate your discerning eyes, open hearts, and eager hands. There's someone else here tonight whose DNA is distinguished by loving kindness. Our entire family is privileged to welcome Rabbi Mendel Solomon, on whom we have relied, believe it or not, for half his life. Rabbi, your wisdom, guidance, and support, along with your jokes, always elevate us Chavkins and Muslims. Thank you to everyone in Ahavat Torah for keeping us in your hearts and on your minds, and for enhancing our simcha. Like Rabbi Solomon, many dear friends supporting this gala are also visionary leaders who see and do what's essential, including former presidents of JKHA and KYHS, and many fellow volunteers and executive board members. Among those celebrating with us tonight, besides our very own Henry and Lenny, are Alice Klein, Martha Mike, Robin and Brad Clapp, Janet and Sheldon Rosenberg, and Fran Schwartz. I'm also grateful to be celebrating with my prized cafeteria companions, Ellen Arian, Sheva Mel, Judy Sandman, and Debbie Rosenwein, who make carpool a lasting source of pleasure. And of course, Kol HaKavod to our trailblazing educational leader, Rabbi Eli Rubin, for illuminating our paths. Thank you all for teaching us so much about leadership and teamwork and for your generous support of CIS. Rick and I are proud to salute many other loved ones from Serena's schools, the dock, and Saratoga, who motivate us to grow and practice chesed so thoughtfully. We're especially grateful to our first fabulous friends here in New Jersey, whose connections to CIS predate our own, Arlene and Michael Gordon, and Julie and Lou Karchin. The Gordons are the beloved relatives of the late Mrs. Rose Schwartz, and the Karchins are the children of Mr. Sam Sirota of blessed memory and Mrs. Beverly Sirota, who endowed McVeigh's Route. Thank you for the exceptional loving kindness you show us every day, and for extending your chesed so generously to our membership. And hello to Bon and Aunt Susu and everyone watching at home. We owe a special debt of gratitude to our annual dinner chairs, Sherry, Dolores, Bobby, Marilyn, and Danielle. Thank you for working tirelessly year after year to advance our shul's spectacular growth and for orchestrating this unforgettable gala. And where would Rick and I be without Rabbi Marcus? Rabbi, you dazzle us with the light of your Torah and your Neshama. Thank you for the immeasurable kindness you've shown us, and for helping us grow exponentially in our quest to emulate your example of chesed v'rachmana. I'm also blessed to have become part of Rick's incomparable family of Kafkins and Salins. Barb, Skip, Stacy, and Audrey, Fran, and Mark are here with us tonight, and Sherry, Larry, and Gary. Thank you for seeing us, loving us, and supporting our shul. Todarabah as well to our dear cousins Cindy and Gary Osen, fearless practitioners of chesed, and hello to Aunt Lolly Peckman, Uncle Albert Kreiser, and all our cherished nieces, nephews, and cousins watching at home. A special shout out to David and Mary. Thank you all for helping to make this event such a success. Finally, it is both a joy and a zechut to be related to role models who are powerful forces for good, personifying every attribute, value, and midah I admire most. Our daughter Serena is as radiant as the sun, an endless source of inspiration and insight, love, and light.
I'll be out in about 10 minutes.
Our son-in-law Adam is a beacon of intellect, empathy, warmth, and wit. We are enormously proud of your achievements, but we derive our greatest knowledge from knowing that you always see rightly and give so much to others. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for suffusing our lives with so much love. And as if all these brachot weren't enough, I'm married to a man who embodies the verse, or Zavruah Letzadim, light is sown for the righteous. Rick is a maritime lead, an enduring source of enlightenment and enrichment for our family, our friends, and our kehillah. If the world is sustained by Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Chasidim, Rick is one of the luminaries who sustains us. No task is too big or too small for him to tackle. Whether it's single-handedly straightening up the shul after Havdalah, or devising and implementing a unique yet ever-evolving E=MC² seating plan during the pandemic. Thank you, Rick, for seeing and doing what matters most in this world, and for all the love you lavish on me, on our family, and on our kehillah. May Hashem continue to bless and guide you, and everyone listening. Ad Mea ve'Esrim to 120. Mazel tov to Marilyn Bielwright, Debbie and Avi Steingart, Adam Grice, and Eva Godalowitz for your richly deserved awards. And thanks for all you do for CIS. Again, thank you all for including me among the honorees and for your loving and generous support tonight and every night.
So you're not going to get off so easy, sorry to say. You're going to have to hear from me also.
Thank you, everyone. First, I'd like to thank Rob Chaim and Leah for their tremendous and tireless leadership and for caring so much about every individual in our Kahila 24/7. I'd also, of course, like to thank the dinner committee, who's done a stellar job as usual, despite many trying circumstances leading up to this event. Thank you to the officers of the shul and to Christine, who does a fantastic job at keeping the shul functioning on a daily basis. About a week or so after we accepted this over-the-top offer to be guests of honor, it was mentioned, ideally, keep the speeches short. Public speaking not on my go-to list, that sounded fine. I let Diane speak for both of us. Then thinking one of the reasons we were willing to accept this honor was to be able to acknowledge certain individuals. I thought maybe I'll give it a shot. But then I thought, will I even have enough time? So I followed up with the chairs about this. They smiled and said the time suggested was just a guide. And I started to think, the last, say, 2 minutes of a football game, basketball game, timeouts, commercials, replays, can seem interminable. So without boring you with the details, after I applied some Josh Smilo Gematria, I calculated actually I have at least 26 minutes to speak. Some of you are familiar with my personal CEO, Brock Lesnar. Brock since reminded me that after factoring in Roy Williams' retirement, all Smilo Gematria is double. Thank you, Brock. Either way, rest assured, everything I say has been pre-approved by the CDC and the state of New Jersey. Dan published a book many years ago called The Book That Changed My Life, which seemed to spawn an entire genre. My speech will briefly highlight some people who changed my life. It'll be a very abridged version in the interest of time. I'll start with the 1980s. Sorry. I lived in Nutley, New Jersey, and davened at Shabbos on Shabbos at a shul in Passaic, Eretz Israel, led by Rabbi Shlomo Weinberger, Zechrono Lebracha, who happened to be a very close friend and colleague of Rabbi Turner. Rabbi Weinberger realized I was driving to shul on Shabbos, but that didn't stop him from inviting me to his home for Shabbos and Yom Tov meals with the Rebbitzin and other members of his family. I soon developed a very close relationship with the rabbi, who's a Talmud Chacham, a real mensch, and a mentor. Spending time and having many conversations with the rabbi had a tremendous positive impact on me personally and spiritually. I also became a frequent Shabbos and Yom Tov guest at many other Shomer Shabbos families in Passaic, who, through their example, demonstrated to me that Shabbos, when observed correctly, is not a day of restriction at all, but rather a day of freedom and spirituality. Fast forward to the late 90s, thank God for you guys, right? And I had become Shomer Shabbos myself, boosted by this base acquired from the Passaic Hebron. I started learning Gemara on my own in 2004, and before learning intermittently with my first Chabrusa, Rabbi Kugler, who traveled with a Lakewood Kollel to Livingston. At this point, I was davening Shabbos at the West Side Jewish Center in Manhattan. Late summer of 2006, some members of that minyan started a regular Daf Yomi Shir, starting with Masechet Sukkos, led by Maggid Shir Rabbi Barry Leibowitz, who was here tonight with his wife Meira. I really didn't know the other participants particularly well, but I figured I'd listen in and see how it goes. Bezrat Hashem, in about 3 weeks, when we finish the second Yuma, we will complete our second full cycle of Shas with a blowout seating. The minyan in Shir was and is predominantly made up of commuters. The Daf Shir usually starts at 6 a.m., so you can imagine sleep is not a priority. 5 hours generally considered to be a good night's sleep, less than that quite common. For the most part, nothing would prevent this Shir from being delivered. Bad winter weather, for instance, driving home from the Sea of Mashas in 2012, getting home around 1:30 in the morning, they still showed up on time, ready to learn. A few regulars were able to make it tonight. Teddy Katzenstein with his wife Malky. When I stopped commuting to the city in 2017, Teddy transformed the physical into the spiritual by giving me exclusive access to his cell phone number every morning so I could still interact with the Shir. Zish Meir, here with his wife Shalamis, he recently started commuting in again, only to hear the Shir live, despite still working from home, and Alan Farkas, our Gavai Tzedakah. Our Maggid Shir, Barry, does a really masterful job, delivering the Shir, always spending extra time on the Halacha L'Maisa and its practical application. Barry, also with Rabbi Avram Goldar, introduced and made available not only to our Shir, but to anyone with access to the OU's All-DAF app, a phenomenally effective memory aid for the Gemara and the weekly Parsha, called Zipper, to help even someone like me remember some of what I learned. Talk about a novel concept. Our cover has had an unbelievable positive effect on my learning. But even more importantly, I have a group of friends that I can rely on for anything at any time. But I will say, it hasn't only been a one-way street. There's one particular morning I'll mention. We arrived at the Westside Jewish Center, door was locked from the inside. It appeared we wouldn't be able to enter the shul until much closer to davening time, and there'd be no shiur. So I went into the parking lot adjacent to the shul and assessed the situation. I climbed one fence and led to another fence, led to a fire escape, got to the second floor of the shul, and I was able to enter through there. I came down, unlocked the door, and we had shiur that morning. A case where my background was a plus. I had learned as early as a 9 or 10-year-old how to successfully sneak into Saratoga racetracks by climbing fences and walls, and it turned out to be a useful skill. On a related note, I believe quite a few of you have seen me in the past in Springfield, walking to and from shul, head down, reading in Gemara as I walk the uneven streets and sidewalks. This reading while walking skill was also acquired in my youth, as I learned to pore over the daily racing form, wading through the crowds at Saratoga Racetrack, where you had to be very careful not to bump into somebody's cigar or beer. Now, though, I often use the time walking to and from shul to review Zipper, so I no longer need to worry about stumbling on the Springfield sidewalks. Now that I've lost my maitre d' job at shul, as Moshe Rosenwein referred to it, I'm not shy to say I'm looking for a different gig. So I plan to approach Gary after the dinner tonight to discuss a possible endorsement deal for Zipper. My next major thank you is to Rabbi Mendel Solomon and his wife Hannah Devorah. The rabbi and CD demonstrated incredible Mesiras Nefesh to keep our congregation in Short Hills going, Ahavat Torah. Now, Baruch Hashem, they run what is likely one of the biggest Chabads in New Jersey. The rabbi also showed tremendous dedication to me and my family as congregants and his friends. Quick version of a couple incidents. One year the rabbi had a commitment in West Orange on a Shabbos and coincided with my family visiting to commemorate my dad's yahrzeit. The rabbi simply woke up early Shabbos morning, and walked the approximately 7 miles to our shul to get there in time for davening, Kriyas HaTorah, and the Chayyams with my brother-in-law Skip. Fast forward to 2014 when my mom passed away when Rabbi Solomon happened to be in Israel. So he chartered a plane and piloted back to Newark. Just wanted to see if you were still listening. But he did catch a plane, Motzi Shabbos, landed in Newark that Sunday morning, and was able to drive with Rob Chaim in the 3 hours to get to Saratoga Springs and help make this very solemn day much more manageable and meaningful to me and my family. Thank you so much, Rabbi Solomon and Hannah Devorah. One of the cuts that I'll mention from this day, two of my Bell's Hasidim friends, Rabbi Lizer Eagle, here with his wife Yospi, and Rabbi Pesach Ringel, both from Brooklyn, still made it to the funeral in Saratoga, and then stayed around to make sure we had a Marv minion at the house later, before making that traffic-laden trip back to Brooklyn Sunday night. Back to Rabbi Solomon just for a moment. It also was not only a one-sided relationship. The rabbi was a frequent visitor to our home in Short Hills with his family, but was terrified of our dogs. Over time, they would have short, supervised meetings, and our dogs were able to break down some of his barriers of fear. And now the rabbi and his family are the proud owners themselves of a dog named Dexter, who, as I understand it, has not as yet been asked to recite the 4 questions at the Seder, but is nonetheless certainly a favorite member of the Solomon family. One more brief acknowledgement. My ophthalmologist, Joel Eichler, also from Short Hills, here with his family, with his wife Robin and his mother Carol. If we ever have a problem or even just a question about our eyes, I simply text him and get instant service. He even gave us an exclusive opening of his office on a Sunday. Joel likely learned this sort of chesed from his parents, as we had a similar relationship with his dad, Phil. The next person I'm going to briefly discuss is my steady chavrusa and CIS resident chesed, Adam Reich. We've been learning together since he moved to Springfield approximately 7 or 8 years ago. A good illustration of our chavrusa is we recently spent 5 weeks learning chapter 32 in Tanya, which discusses why every Jew needs to love every other Jew. Adam wanted to be certain this wasn't just another topic, but rather a subject that needed to be internalized and ingrained in you. We're both Kohanim and also learned together in the past from the Sefer, the CIS Kapayim Filchasa, written by Moshe Gross HaKohen on the halachas of Duchni, that includes the rule the Kohen really needs to have a love for the tzibor, the congregation, otherwise he shouldn't even get up to bless them. More on this general topic a little later, but thank you, Adam, for all you've taught me. Bezrat Hashem, we should continue to be Chavrusas for at least another 54 years. Diane, Serena, and I moved to Springfield part-time in 2009. Yes, Springfield was our weekend retreat. I would venture that the list of people who bought their weekend home in Springfield is about as exclusive as the number of Jewish left-handed pitchers with 4 no-hitters who sat out a World Series game because of home score. Quick shout out to his namesake, my buddy Koufax. Our goal Our golden retriever who died a little before the Yom Nuraim last year. Only a dog owner will understand this. You're kidding me, right, Rick? Well, saying goodbye to Koufax was considerably more stressful than setting up seating for our triple headers on Rosh Hashanah. When we moved to Springfield, both Diane and I knew Rav Chaim, who were already very impressed by our interactions with him. After we joined the community, we realized he's not only a Talmid Chacham, but also a Baal Chesed, way beyond the norm. He's had an enormous positive impact on our lives. We learned in Masechet Brachos on page 7, yes, a Zechur reference, that it's better to attend to your teacher of Torah than even to learn from them. It's explained there by the Maharsha that by observing your teacher's actions, you can gain so many valuable and practical lessons. I have the incredible fortune to be able to do both, to learn Torah from Rav Chaim and to observe his everyday actions and character, and hopefully absorb some of both. Now I'd like to briefly introduce my family. My oldest sister, Sharon, who wasn't able to join us tonight, who thankfully has a short memory of all the times I gave her such a difficult time as my babysitter, is a top contestant in any game, would name that tune. Stacy, the youngest, who's our eternal optimist and life of every party. There's an 11-year gap between Stacy and myself. Before Stacy was born, I was the baby of the family, the only boy, and my mom is Syrian. Do you think I was spoiled at all? And Barb, the middle sister, who's our family CEO, who organizes virtually all of our family get-togethers. Barb works even harder in retirement than she did as an executive VP, volunteering her time to many organizations, including her synagogue. Barb's husband, Skip, was also here tonight and a true friend. When we were buying that vacation home in Springfield in 2009, post-mortgage meltdown, and banks were very reluctant to lend money, Skip let me know if we encountered any problems, he'd be happy to lend me the money. It turned out to be unnecessary, but the gesture made the process much less stressful. Bottom line, no one could ask for a more loving and reliable family. Now to our children. Baruch Hashem, Serena and Adam met when they were both students at Penn. They're the absolute models of how you want your children to ideally turn out. They're a perfect match, and their personalities and behaviors are drenched in kindness. They are very compassionate and concerned for the welfare of others and for the welfare of our society as a whole. Thank you for being exactly as you are. I'm so proud of both of you and love you so much. Now Diane. I could go on and on describing her virtues, but I'll keep it shorter than that. She's a behind-the-scenes consultant to so many people, assisting them with a wide range of tasks, such as college applications, party planning, as well as much more demanding tasks, such as offering game-changing advice on complex legal issues. Perhaps you think I'm exaggerating. How can anyone give solid advice on such a wide variety of topics? It's because she's not only willing to utilize her talents, but she's also willing to dedicate hours and days and more if necessary to research a subject and find the best solution. And even if she's not having a great day herself, she'll generally push through it and prioritize the person seeking help over herself. Her favorite, most recent endeavor, though, is to write the micro Devar Torahs that accompany the message in the online version of the weekly Shabbos Bulletin. Her face literally lights up when she starts to describe to me what she plans to write for the following week's bulletin. And per Rav Chaim, she really seems to come up with Kedushim. Diane also helps me in so many ways, but most importantly, she is instrumental in helping me improve my own midos, my character, just by being Diane. And as Jerry Maguire said so eloquently, Diane, you complete me. So I have to try to wrap things up before Alexander starts yelling last call. So when the weather is good, it's not that short though. So when the weather is good, I often go jogging outside and listen to music or a sports podcast. On Veterans Day last year, I listened to an ESPN interview with Rocky Bleier, who many of you have likely never heard of. He was a very good college running back for national championship Notre Dame team, but undersized for the pros. Was drafted in the 14th round by the Steelers in 1968, but he made the team. The following year, he was drafted into the U.S. Army to serve in Vietnam. 3 months into his deployment, he's caught in an ambush, shot in the thigh, and his foot was severely injured by a grenade blast. He was rescued and was told by his doctors he'd be able to walk again, but his football career was over. He went on to recover and made the Steelers roster again, and in fact played a significant role on 4 Super Bowl winning teams. One point Rocky spoke about in his interview was that his safety and his success depended on people in his unit to his right and to his left, people he barely knew. Perhaps this will sound a bit dramatic, but I believe this is a pretty apt description of us as a Jewish people. Ironically, it's when we as Jews are literally in a firefight and we're struck by tragedy that we all come together and can rely on one another. But otherwise, sorry to say, we often don't appear to be particularly united. In fact, as time passes, it seems we've become more and more polarized from other Jews on our right and on our left, whether it's political, religious, or some other divide. Perhaps it's Democrat versus Republican, Orthodox versus conservative and reform, Haredi versus modern and secular, and Jews that demonize the idea. We often separate into factions and forget we're all members of the Jewish faith. And when we do this, very often ego and self-interest get in the way of unity. It's obviously 100% fine, for example, to prefer the Democratic or the Republican platform and vote accordingly. But we're all Jews, not supposed to be defined by polarized platforms, but rather by Hashem and His Torah. We learn Pirkei Avos from Passover to Rosh Hashanah, where the sages beautifully describe so many midos to help us interact with our fellow Jews. That's approximately 5 months of learning, yet we often ignore many of these lessons. We need to be able to break down the divides and at least be able to have a civil conversation with one another. As I said earlier, Adam Reich and I have been learning from Tanya. During Sefiras HaOmer, however, we detoured from Tanya and learned from a sefer that Adam has, Erech HaChaim by Rabbi Elimelech Biederman, in which Rabbi Biederman published a letter from the Rambam to his son, advising his son to avoid machlokas, which is conflict, at all costs. Sadly, this concept of machlokas and its destructive effects have been illustrated in so many of our recent parshas. The Rambam says in his letter, don't debase your soul in argument. Be disgusted by machlokas. It destroys the body, the soul. I've seen children blackened and families wiped out. Groups broke apart, cities, Hasidim are lost, men of faith, honored people knocked down, wise men proclaimed how bad machlokas was, but we haven't gotten to the end of the matter. Therefore, have hatred for machlokas. Run away from it. Distance yourself from anyone who loves it, or you'll be included in their sins. The Rambam wrote this letter approximately 1,000 years ago. I'm sorry to say, it doesn't seem like we've learned anything. I believe machlokas and strife among fellow Jews is our #1 problem. I don't have an opinion on our #2 problem. I believe the gap between #1 and #2 is enormous. I'll try to make a simple analogy. Most people say the Yankees' Mariano Rivera was the best reliever of all time. Even a Mets fan like myself has to respect his talent. Who was #2? I don't know. No one was really close. To use a phrase from my business, Mariano Rivera has no cover. I believe Jews totally disrespecting other Jews is our #1 problem with no cover. One final reference to Zifru. In the second Shabbos on page 118, there's some Agadita, including a statement by Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, who says if the Jewish people would keep 2 Shabboses, according to halacha, we would be redeemed immediately. There's also an opinion in the Yerushalmi that this could occur with the observance of only 1 Shabbos. I'm sorry to say, though, I think halachic observance of even only 1 Shabbos by all Jews seems a very daunting proposition. Here's my drasha, spit, whatever you'd like to call it, on how perhaps we could, quote-unquote, observe Shabbos properly if we would take that 1 Shabbos, per the Yerushalmi, and maybe instead of all Jews, we only need a simple majority to just act cordially with one another, and maybe it's not so daunting after all. for Jews to merit redemption. Even this, though, is not simple and requires considerable improvement on our part. I think, for example, whether an individual spends most of his day doing acts of chesed in a soup kitchen, or spends most of his day learning or teaching Torah in a kollel, this person still needs to be able to have a civil conversation with another Jew that doesn't have the same views as himself. How can someone think, I can follow all halacha except treating other Jews with respect, and think that's okay? Love your fellow as yourself, as it says in Parshas Kedoshim, and never shame another person in public. How would the aforementioned person view someone who, say, was described as, he follows all halacha except he worships idols on occasion? All that said, though, I'm confident we do have the ability to overcome this shortcoming. I am really sorry to lay this entire idea on you, as this isn't really directed to our group here tonight, because I think by and large we get it, and we treat our fellow Jews with respect. But I guess I wanted to deliver my manifesto, I'll call it, to someone. And I didn't really think I'd get invited by the Knesset or the US Congress, so you ended up having to listen to it. As an aside, my hometown of Saratoga Springs is a predominantly Catholic town. Almost all my friends from there are not Jewish. I still count many of them today as my very closest friends. I can go on and on about remarkable acts of chesed I was fortunate to receive from them over the years also, but that's a speech for another night. Regarding my journey to becoming a Baal Tshuva, it wasn't particularly difficult for me to stop eating non-kosher food, nor ultimately was it difficult to become Shomer Shabbos. My main struggle was, and is, in improving my mind, my thoughts. I'm naturally very cynical. When I was younger and not nearly as sensitive to what came out of my mouth, I'd say things with quite a bite to them, usually in a humorous way, at least to me, but I imagine still quite harsh to some of its recipients. I still struggle a lot with this. Thankfully, you can't read my mind. But often when I hear something I really don't like, or someone challenges me, my initial thought is to verbally attack the person. But more recently, I usually get a tiny bit of common sense, calm down, and by the time I say something, it usually sounds much more sane and civilized than my knee-jerk thoughts. But it's a process for me. Everyone I've mentioned tonight has helped me improve my core midos, by me observing their actions and by listening to them. I thank all of them, as well as all of you. You've obviously chosen outstanding individuals to honor this evening. Marilyn, Avi and Debbie, Adam, Eva, and Diane. But that you've chosen to also honor me as humorous, because honor is really what I owe you, all of you, including at the top of the list, Serena and Adam and Diane, and to my friends in and out of CIS. You've all helped me so much in my ongoing process to be a better Jew and a better person. But I still struggle and I still need to improve. So again, I'm sorry for the manifesto. Nonetheless, if I can convince myself and maybe a few of you to go out of our way to show more respect to a fellow Jew that we otherwise might not, maybe even this Shabbos, I'll consider this a success. Even if you felt this was a bit of a ramble, please consider doing it anyway, in honor of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's yahrzeit, which was this past Sunday, and perhaps it could add just a little bit of light to our world. But in the meantime, please know, if I'm ever caught in an ambush, firefight, or even just down hanging out and talking, I'm very excited to have all of you on my left and on my right, and I'm confident we'll succeed. Thank you, and l'chaim.
Adam Grice is the minion mensch. Not sure when we started calling it the Minyan Mensch, but anyway, his journey to Congregation Israel was long and winding, and we couldn't be more grateful to have him. Adam has a deep sense of spirituality that underlies his every move. He is often the first to arrive at daily minyanim, and he has committed himself to consistent prayer and Torah study. I believe he holds the record for most shark marks in a sitter in our shul. He also has great knowledge of fine wines and cigars. Now that everyone who used to live around us has moved away for some odd reason, it's been a pleasure having Adam as a walking partner to and from shul. He has used his creative skills to enhance our Torah learning through designing svarim such as the Gutnick Chumash and the Practical Tanya. My wife and I spent a long time searching for Ramon's lyrics to incorporate into this speech. But as it turns out, their lyrics aren't particularly appropriate for this event. Adam, your dedication to prayer with a minyan is admirable. We at the shul are so lucky to have you, your enthusiasm, and your deep commitment to Torah growth to inspire us. Please accept the Edward Koenigsberg Memorial Award for minyan attendance.
Thank you, Josh. Can everybody hear me? Yep. I've received many awards throughout my graphic design career, but there is something about the Edward Koenigsberg Memorial Award that is extra special to me. When I first joined Congregation Israel, I have to say I was in awe. Everyone was so knowledgeable, so dedicated. I'd always thought to myself, what would it take to be recognized by the shul? That could never be me. I don't come close to the yeshiva upbringing of most of you here. So when Rabbi Marcus approached me about receiving this award, I was admittedly taken aback. Who was I to be recognized by the shul? Some of you know my story. I was raised in a conservative, secular home, when conservative was conservative. Like many secular Jews, we went to synagogue twice a year. With that said, Judaism was very important to my family. My mom lit candles, she had separate dishes for Passover. Until the day she died, she never mixed milk with meat or broke dietary laws. So yes, Judaism was instilled in me at an early age. From kindergarten through 4th grade, I went to Rabbi Harry Halpin's East Midwood Day School in Brooklyn. I have to admit that I hated it. When we moved to Jericho, New York, I went to public school. But I continued my studies in Hebrew school 3 days a week. I really hated that. When I look back now, I'm thankful for what they did for me, as I was given a Jewish foundation and I can read Hebrew, which many secular Jews cannot. In my teens and young adult life, religion became less important, but I still never missed the high holidays. While my father passed away at 48 years old, my mother was the glue that held my extended family together. She and my grandparents, and she always continued to express the importance of who and what I was, a Jew. In 1994, when I met my wife, Risa, I was in a very non-religious place. Yes, we did the high holidays, and there were periods when we lit candles, but it became less important to me. There were times that I even questioned the existence of God. In 2004, we moved to Springfield and joined the Reformed Synagogue. This was more for our boys than anything. It really didn't mean much to me at that point, but I knew it was important. My mom passed away 14 years ago from ovarian cancer, and after her death, I was absolutely lost. How could there be a God? Then 3 years later, my grandmother died. I was at an all-time low. At this point, I lost all faith, and when describing how I felt, I used the term soulless, not even understanding the seriousness of such a statement. For the Shiva, my uncle had a Chabad rabbi come to the house. The rabbi spoke of many things that I'd never heard. I asked him about it, as it didn't even seem Jewish. He then said 3 words to me that changed my life. He shook his head and he said, "This is Kabbalah." I was intrigued, and after that I started searching. Those 3 words ultimately brought me to the Kabbalah Center in New York City, where I finally was exposed to Judaism in a spiritual way. It was there through Kabbalah that I learned the meaning behind it all. I studied Zohar, God was real. I started doing rituals. I started praying daily, morning and night. I did things that were never on my radar. A few years later, I met Rabbi Mendy of Springfield, Chabad. It was he who introduced me to Rabbi Marcus. And after all those years of watching all of you walk back and forth to and from the shul, I texted Rabbi Marcus one day and I asked if I could come to a Shabbat. He said to me, "You can come anytime." So I started coming every Saturday. Many of you in this room welcomed me. While I was self-conscious, you didn't care at all. I never looked back. Then 2020 hit, the pandemic that shut down the world. It was through Rabbi Marcus's Zoom minions that I learned the nuances of davening properly. And when the shul opened up again, I started coming to minions. This was the one silver lining during this miserable time, as working from home enabled me to attend. Sadly, in this period, we lost my mother-in-law to COVID. Davening with a minion enabled me to say Kaddish for her, and that made it even more important for me. I've been told that I was often the 10th man. I actually made a difference. If my parents could see me now, I know they can. While davening daily with a minion has been routine for many here, this was new to me, and yes, I've grown to really appreciate it. While I have no idea how going back to work in New York City will impact my ability to attend daily minions, I do know that I am a changed man because of all this, especially because of this shul and our rabbi. I've been told about Edward Koenigsberg, and I am truly honored to receive an award in his name. I thank those who were a part of selecting me for this honor. Now I must say a few thank yous. First of all, thank you to all who welcomed me here in the beginning. There are too many to name, that many of you are in this room. You've embraced my wife and I with warmth, friendship, and hospitality. Thank you, Adela and Rabbi Mendy Blasowski, for all your encouragement early on. Thank you to my good friend, Jeff Neckenoff, who many of you know as a Zomra DJ and entertainment. Jeff has been a mentor and a support to me for years, and I have learned so much from him. Thank you to my good friend, Rabbi Chaim Miller, who changed my life the day he walked into my classroom to actually learn from me. It has been an honor to be a part of his creative process and to be linked to the Practical Tanya, a true masterpiece. Rabbi Miller has also been a mentor and a teacher, and I've grown tremendously because of him. A big thank you to Lenny, Rick, Jeff, and Ben for making it possible to daven in person again, and a special thanks to Rick, who worked tirelessly to make this possible. Thank you, Sherry, Dolores, Bobby, Danielle, and Diane for working so closely with me on the invitations and for your support regarding the scheduling conflict I had tonight with my son's graduation from high school. And thank you to all the dinner and journal chairs for adjusting this program so that I could accept this award in person. Thank you, Rabbi Marcus, for being my Rav, the greatest teacher I have ever known. It is no accident I found you in Springfield. There are not enough words. And finally, thank you to my wife, Risa, who did not sign up for any of this. She was a part, she didn't. She was a part of many discussions early on regarding why should we even bother to join a synagogue. I've evolved from who she met 27 years ago, and I won't sugarcoat it and say a lot of this has been easy. But she has been supportive and stood by me, even if it wasn't her thing. And for that, I'm so grateful. In closing, thank you again for recognizing me with the Edward Koenigsberg Memorial Award. I congratulate all my co-honorees, and I will truly cherish this. Thank you.
Okay, and now to close the evening, I'd like to make a toast. I truly do feel so grateful that we are here together this evening We might not all be here in person, but every attempt we make at coming together as a kahila, in person and virtually, will bring us closer day by day. I would like to once again express gratitude on behalf of the kahila to the entire dinner committee who brought us together so that we could remember why this community is so special. The committee is large and I don't want to leave anyone out, so I encourage you all to check the dinner website for the complete list. I truly hope that every member, new and not so new, comes away from this event feeling the warmth of Congregation Israel. And of course, I'd like to make a toast to the Rav, who works night and day to make sure that we stay connected as a shul family. So everyone, raise your glasses, l'chaim and mazel tov to all of our honorees. L'chaim.
Sure.
All right, we have another video, so everyone please enjoy the video.
Ready? Good evening. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Take 85. Good evening.
I'm gonna keep it running. I'm just gonna keep it running. Just keep starting over.
Good evening, Congregation Israel. Oh, okay. Just start again. My name is Josh Smilo, and I will be the MC of the 46th Annual Congregation Israel Gala Dinner, which will be on June 16th at 6:30 p.m. in our house or at Crystal Plaza. We're not sure, but it's going to be at Crystal Plaza. My name is Josh Smilo, and I am the MC for the 46th Annual. My name is Josh Smilo, and I will be the MC for this year's dinner.
Forgot the line. Get the paper.
You started? You started, didn't you?
Because I can crop.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Do I go? Where's the click?
I did it already.
What am I doing here? Well, I am here to tell you that we are here because... I feel like I'm going around in circles over here.
Maybe we need a script.
Now, in the next few weeks, you will be receiving some videos that will from other... We are looking... Okay. But... I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna keep it rolling.
No, it's not. You can't. How are you gonna cut that?
I can cut the whole thing.
No, you can't do that.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
I know how to edit videos.
No. We are so excited to celebrate all of our amazing honorees for this year's dinner. They are... Oh.
Maybe you should write them on this paper.
Diane Osenkovkin and Rick... Diane Osenkovkin. Over the next coming weeks, you will be seeing... Shoot. And by you watching these videos, it will hopefully influence you to give more money to us. Now, in the next few weeks, you will be receiving more videos like this. Not of me, but of other people in our shul. A, will we be making a video of Ben Hoffer as a baby? 2, Number 3. And not only that, but just a reminder that this year's dinner will be June 16th, 6:30 p.m. And we hope to see all of you together.
Will not go off book. I will not go off book. Say it to me.
I will not go off book. But in all seriousness, we are looking very forward to spending this year's dinner with you and all of our special honorees. And remember... start again.